mid-19th century, women started working outside the home in factories like this. They were paid less than men, and they turned their wages over to their husbands. Women were, in every sense, second-class citizens. They couldn't buy land, they couldn't sign a contract, and they couldn't vote.
We have life so easy, right? We go flip on the light switch, turn on the water, we flush a toilet. Even the simplest of things were difficult for them.
For 2 days in July 1848, 300 people, mostly locals, mostly women, and mostly Quakers, held America's first convention for women's rights, right here.
So when we look at the Women's Rights Convention, we look at the larger movements that are going on, abolition, temperance, the labor movement. And so many of the questions that they were struggling with at that time have never stopped being discussed.
Janine Waller is the chief of interpretation at the Women's Rights National Historical Park.
At this point, after the revolution, everyone is really trying to figure out, what does it mean to be an American? What does it mean to be a citizen?
They weren't going to wait for justice. They were going to go find it and make justice.
How did they settle on the Declaration of Independence as the document on which to base their resolution?
They really wanted to find something that would speak to the soul of the nation, and there was nothing stronger than the Declaration of Independence.
The Declaration of Independence gave this country a platform to move towards justice.
It was familiar, and it has one of the most famous beginnings, right? We hold these truths
To be self-evident that all men
that all men are created equal. Well, the obvious omission there is that all men and women.
that all men and women
are created equal.
The Declaration of Sentiments takes the Declaration of Independence and then reworks it a bit to make it applicable to women. Do you think the Declaration of Independence didn't really apply to women before that?
I think you should ask a man that question. Are you accepting women as equals? And are you allowing women the opportunity to go out and pursue happiness and life and liberty?
When the Declaration of Independence says all men are created equal, they are using the word men in a universal fashion. But even as they did that, they were making this distinction between who has rights, all of humankind, and how do we organize the powers of government. And they were reserving power for a subset of humankind. That's where they made their mistake.
History doesn't arc towards justice on its own. It takes people who are willing to make those bold statements.
And that was how they wanted to start the convention, recognizing that the American experiment is incomplete.
And I can't believe how well they wrote it. And it shows how inspiring words can be.
One attendee was a former slave, Frederick Douglass, who covered the convention in his newspaper, The North Star.
From there, it was picked up across the nation. Some cases for lauding, some cases for ridicule. You know, look at what the women in Seneca Falls are doing, and look at what the women in Seneca Falls are doing.
The convention adopted 9 resolutions, the most controversial of which was to grant women the vote.
The resolutions focused on correcting many of the ills that were identified in the Declaration. So it was resolved that women would promote educational access for girls, that they would seek equality under the law, that they would seek equality at the pulpit and in their churches, and that they would not stop until they secured elective franchise for women.
I can't vote a woman into office until I can vote. Once I can vote, I can run for office. Every time I see first woman, it makes me angry that somebody had to punch through that barrier.
Women didn't get the vote until the 20th century. Meantime, a 19th century invention gave them a taste of freedom.
Women and girls especially could get on a bicycle and go much greater distances than they ever could before and do it alone. It allows you much more independence, individual movement. It's pretty hard to have a chaperone on a bicycle. Susan B. Anthony said that it was the single most important technological advancement for the independence of women.
I get on my bike, and it does feel like freedom